He's got a very special guest that everybody wants to hear from today. David.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I am very happy to be joined right now by Meg Whitman, the Republican candidate for governor of California, the front runner right now, although the primary has yet to be held. Of course, our viewers, Meg, know you as the CEO of eBay, something that, well, I don't know if you miss it, given what you're dealing with, but we're very happy to see you. You know, Meg, we spoke earlier to an expert on California, credit rating of Kazakhstan, a $14.4 billion projected budget deficit in 2011. Average deficit as a percentage of the budget at 14.6%. I could go on and on, including, of course, dysfunction in Sacramento, the state capital. How are you, as governor of California, should you get that office, going to deal with all of that and put it back on the fiscal straits?
Well, you're right, David. The challenges are enormous. And what I want to focus on really is two things. First is we have to create jobs in California. We've had a decline in revenue from over $100 billion down to $85 billion in the general fund because we have now the 5th highest unemployment rate in the country. So we have to put people back to work. I want to do that by cutting taxes and streamlining regulation. But probably more important for the financial issues that you were talking about is we have to get after spending. And you can think about, we have challenges in really 4 areas. One is we have too many people who work for the state. The workforce has ballooned by 40,000 over just the last 5 years. We have a pension crisis, a $60 billion unfunded pension liability. We've got a welfare system that is the most expensive in the nation. We've got 12% of the population and 32% of the welfare cases. And we have a debt burden that is extraordinary. We're carrying about $53 billion worth of debt. And if we don't get that under control and start to pay down that debt, 10% of the general fund could go to debt service in the next couple of years. So we got to take it one step at a time and start to reduce costs, pay down the debt, and run the government far more efficiently than we do today.
Now, you know, I mean, we're looking right now at operating shortfalls that are projected for years to come. I would expect you don't expect any time soon to start to see this state, excuse me, it might as well be a country, in anything approaching a surplus or fiscal balance.
Well, we've got to get there fast. And, you know,
what's
first
fast?
is,
what's
well,
fast,
I would
Meg?
say, you know, the next governor, when they take over in 2011, is going to have to solve probably a $16 billion crisis in that fiscal year, but then start laying the pipe for budgets that are, you know, 2013 and 2014, because we've got to use technology. You know, David, I come from Silicon Valley, 130 miles south of Sacramento. It might as well be a million miles away in terms of how the state has used technology to find fraud, to do things more efficiently. We've got to start reducing the state workforce right away. So we can turn this around, but you're right, it's going to take a bit of time. And at the same time, we've got to put people back to work. That's how we increase revenues.
Right.
When I say revenues, I don't mean taxes. I mean putting people back to work. Because without employers or without employees, the tax basis is going to continue to decline.
Absolutely, but you're also talking about cutting taxes and reducing state employment. I'm not sure those all go together, Meg.
They do, because a government job is not the same as a private sector job, right? The private sector pays for the government job. So we have got to reduce the cost of government. I mean, the cold, hard truth is we have a government we can no longer afford. So we have to reduce that workforce. And at the same time, what I want to do is targeted tax cuts right away that actually get hiring going fast, as opposed to an across-the-board tax cut. Let's do things like eliminate the factory tax. I don't know if you know this, but we're one of only 3 states where manufacturers have to pay a sales tax on the equipment they buy to manufacture in California. You know what that's resulted in? A loss of 600,000 manufacturing jobs since 2000, or 32% of the industrial base in California. So if we eliminate the factory tax, that will help stop the bleeding of manufacturing jobs overseas as well as to other states. You
know, I look at the general fund expenditures expected for 2009, 2010, 41% on education. I can't imagine you want to cut that. 30% on health and human services, those two being the largest single contributors. So where is it going to come from? Health and human services? And if so, you know, there's ramifications for doing that as well.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is on health and human services, we do have to reform the welfare program. You can't sustain 12% of the population with 32% of the welfare cases. California never participated in welfare to work. We have got to get about this. People will have to work for their benefits. We're going to have to take a 5-year limit on welfare benefits down to 2 years, which is what other states do. And so that's how we're going to have to attack it. I will also say we have to use technology to find fraud. Estimates are the administration of Medicare and Medi-Cal, $4.8 to $5.2 billion worth of fraud every single year in California alone. Now, if we were to find that fraud, we'd only get $2.5 billion in California. $2.5 billion would go to the federal government. But frankly, facing a budget deficit of $20 billion, $2.5 billion is a really important thing that we have to go after. Another case would be IHSS, the in-home health care service. People estimate that there's 20% of that is fraud. We can't find it because the systems aren't automated.
Aaron.